everyone out there. Welcome to Don Cherry's Grapevine podcast. I'm Cindy Cherry with my brother Tim and my dad, Don Cherry.
Don't forget Del.
Oh, Del. Del's the mastermind.
Well, we have to say that we're glad Del's back because last week we did a whole podcast and I recorded it, but I forgot to hit the record button, so we had to do it all over again.
Rookie. What a rookie.
A rookie mistake at the best. I was looking and go, well, the lines are moving, so we must be recording. And then I realized, so then we had to do it all over. So if people wondering why Dad's voice was a little gone on the last podcast, it was because we had to do 2 in the morning because I screwed up. So I got fired and Del's back now.
Del's back. No more sleeping in on Sunday mornings. Too. Yeah, I got a haircut just for us. So what are we going to talk about this week?
Well, today I have to say something. I'm a little upset.
No,
I'm not. Usually I don't get upset, but I'm a little upset. I just can't believe all the stuff Bobby Orr has done for Parry Sound. Now, I've gone up there and you and I have gone up there for the golf tournament. And,
in support of.
And he has all his friends from Boston come up, Derek Sanderson, and the owner of, and he does a lot, or I think he does a lot anyhow. And and I know he does a lot for charities. And I know, Cindy, I don't know whether I said this or not, Tim, I don't know whether I told you or not, but when you were in the hospital, did I tell this story? I don't know anyhow, I'm going to tell it again. While you were in the hospital, I had a nurse said to me, well, your star player was over here today. I said, star player? Like, well, I'm thinking we only got to have one star player. And he was over there on a Tuesday. He went every Tuesday, and he visited all the children in the hospital every Tuesday. Nobody knew about it. Anyhow, and this girl wrote a letter and ripped him pretty good. And I just can't believe that they did the letter. I mean,
the Parry Sound newspaper put an article from like an op-ed, they call it, lady who really gave it to Bobby for.
Yeah, and you know the funny thing is, all he said was, "I support Trump." He didn't say he didn't knock Biden. He didn't knock anybody. He said he support. Now, if he had supported Biden, he'd have been a hero today. But that's the way he was. That's the way he played. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of a few years ago, the Royal Military College were going to give me, what do they call it, an honorary degree?
Yeah.
Yeah, honorary degree with 2 generals. I was really impressed. And the girl that taught French there wrote a big article how bad a guy I was and, racist and all that stuff and everything. And and so they were just waiting for me to come down there, and the 2 generals, they wouldn't even, the guys that really deserve the honorary degree, they wouldn't even been mentioned. So I said, I'm not coming. But I just can't believe that somebody can't voice their opinion in politics or anything, and they're a bad guy. I just don't, I don't get it. Anyhow, that's the way I feel about it, and he's my friend, and he'll always be my friend. And
was there any rebuttal from anyone?
No, not one
nothing?
person. No, nobody.
Once again, you're the only one that's mentioning it, sticking up for Bobby.
Well, I don't know about that, but I mean, he was the greatest hockey player who ever lived, and he's the greatest guy.
Yeah, just one thing about his charity, I remember reading about that. They retired his number during the Russian. Remember, there was a exhibition game between the Bruins and the Russians, and they weren't selling out. Like the bloom was
3,000.
There was like 3,000 tickets, and it was going to be a disaster. And then they announced they were going to retire Bobby's number there, and it was sold out.
On the Russians, not Montreal, not Toronto, or not when they had.
But let me tell you the postscript of that.
Let me finish this story. Oh. And then, so what happened was Bobby said, "I'll do it." He says, "But all the sponsors and everything that's going to go, and all the television commercial and all that, all has to go to the Children's Hospital in Boston."
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he said he'd do it, but he wanted to make sure that nobody was going to make money on it, and everybody and any money that was made on it and got it all went to the Children's Boston children, and nobody knew about it. Like he
I didn't even know about it till now.
No, he did that.
And that's what he does. And I know he does charity. Well, we know that.
Oh, yes.
Well, he sent some stuff for our dogs.
Yes,
and
our
pets.
coming up in February or March, the coach's closet. He sent us a bunch of stuff. You mentioned that it was coming, and he sent some stuff.
And he makes no money on these things, and just. I mean, the charities that he does, I'm not getting carried away here. Well, I guess I am getting carried away here. But I got to tell you about that Russian series. I didn't want to play it, and Harry thought that Russian army and everything was going to be great. I wouldn't go out on the bench, and I see he had an ovation. There's never been an ovation like that again. He tried to speak. How long, Tim? Were you there? Do you remember?
Well, I watched it on TV. I think he was like 10 minutes. He got an ovation, and then every time he started to talk, they start cheering again. Everybody, but you're right. The hockey world was kind of mad.
Oh, the rest of everybody was mad, but Boston, Harry didn't.
Because they were doing that with the Russians. Like it was obvious what they were doing.
And it took us a month to recover.
I can tell you that Mom and I, we used to sit amongst, and where we sat, there was a lot of season ticket holders. Like season ticket holders had been there forever. And what had happened was they had first dibs on the tickets for that game. Well, they have absolutely no interest in the Russians, and they gave all their tickets away. So then they switch it that it's Bobby Orr night. I mean, can you imagine they've been going for how long watching Bobby Orr? They're going to finally retire his number, and all the old timers weren't there to see it. Well, the next game when Mom and I went, did we hear about it? I can't believe that I wasn't here, and it was very disappointing to a lot of those season ticket holders that gave away their tickets for that exhibition
it's disappointing
game.
To me too. And the play and our team.
Well, I remember I forget what I think we had won something like 19 out of 23 games going into it, and then we went on a tailspin. Like I think we won 3 out of the next 18 or something like that.
And we were and we couldn't believe. Naturally, they wouldn't fight, but we couldn't believe. And the guy and Wayne Cashman called me in and said, "Look," and all the spear marks were on the guys where they'd been speared. And he said, "This is so." It took me a month to get them straightened out. And you know what? The crowd didn't like us either because we couldn't see what they were doing, or the crowd couldn't see what they were doing, and they could see what we were doing. Is that with Dromboski? Is that the time?
I think we played them. We played them twice, and one was I think that's when that's when he was, and then there was another ref. I think Wally Harris was the other ref that we had, and I think he stiffed us worse than the Russian
Wally
ref
Harris.
did.
He was supposed to be a good guy, but did I ever tell you why we got Dromboski? I never forgot his name, Dombrowski. That was the referee. Let me tell you the story about that one. This is a good story. I think it's a good story. The NHL was together. He says, Philadelphia had won the Stanley Cup. He says, we can't have the Red Army. We cannot have the Red Army beat the Stanley Cup winners. I don't care what happens. So we have to have a referee. We have to have Gilmore, because Gilmore was a referee. What was his first name? I forgot his name. Lloyd Gilmore. And he was a good referee, boy. He was the best referee. Well, John McCauley. Anyhow, we had to have Gilmore because Gilmore, he didn't care. He'd call it anyway. And if we had other referees, they'd bend over backwards. When you play, you never want a Canadian referee to referee the game because, as usual, they'll bend over backwards to the other team. So anyhow, they had a meeting. The NHL had said, well, we got to give him to a good club. We got to give her Russian. We got to have a Russian referee. And we cannot have. We got to have a good club. We can't have a. So they said, "Hey, we got an idea. We'll give him Boston. We'll give him Dombrowski." And I remember we scored. We were up 2-0. I can still see the play. We scored 2-0. We scored with 3-0. Would have made it 3-1, and they'd never ever get back in that. The referee called it a goalie to Cashman. goalie interference. They scored. It ended up, it was a 2-2 tie. We were supposed to be up 3-1. And the guys just went nuts. It was
Yeah, well, one day we should talk about that whole. I remember Freddie Sherrill talking about that whole Red Army that series, how big it was. That the Philadelphia, that the Flyers they couldn't beat the Things, and
that was when. I think is that when they said we're going home.
Yeah, that was. Was it? What was it? Eddie Van Imp hit one?
Oh, Eddie Van Imp, he had a penalty, and he was in the penalty, boy, and he came running. Who did he hit in the corner? Karmeloff or something?
One of them.
No, they're all the same. And I tell you, boy, and they said, we're going home. And Bob Cole was saying, they're going home. They're going home. And they were going off the ice. And Al Eagleson said, went in with the Snyder, Mr. Snyder, and they said, you go home. You don't get paid for your trip. They come back.
Yeah. Well, I remember there was an interview with Bobby Clark between the periods, and I forget who was interviewing him, and he said, so he goes, you played the Montreal Canadiens, and he says, you're a big rivalry with the Boston Bruins, and now, you're playing the Red Army. What's the difference? And he says, well, Montreal and Boston have class. These guys don't.
Well, you know what that's from?
Well, yeah, there's stuff that happened before then, right?
Yeah. They took everything. They took sticks and skates and anything that moved. They took, and they give them, Philadelphia gave them
Well, I guess what happened was that they were supposed to have a press conference. So the Flyers all showed up. They said, be there right at 10 o'clock. So all the Flyers showed up, and the Russians showed up an hour late, which didn't sit well with the Flyers. And then they gave them a gift. A nice gift. And they said it was junk. They didn't want it. And then they said, we don't have enough sticks. We want your sticks, some sticks. So all the players went in and gave them. They said, these are junk sticks. We don't want them. So can you imagine with the Broad Street Bullies antagonizing them like that? So they were just chomping at the bit once the puck dropped.
And Bobby Clark, he seemed to play his best when he was playing the Russians. I think he hated the Russians. I don't know. Remember they interviewed him. He said he was an animal and all that stuff and everything. When I was over there, they had a movie. The Russians had a movie of the 72 Summer Series, and they had Phil Esposito like he was a maniac, like he. Yeah,
well, they said they won that series, right?
Yeah, they won it
because they
how
scored.
The hell did they win it? I don't understand how they won it.
They said they scored more goals.
Oh, is that how they did? Yeah. And if it had been a tie, they were going to keep the cup. And that was the greatest series of all time. And I think I told a story about Dennis Hall, but I think Bobby Hall said it best. He said, Bobby Orr didn't play. He had a sore knee. He was over there, and he says, good job he didn't play. And everybody would. He wouldn't have gone 8 games. We wouldn't have been heroes.
Yeah. Well, and the 76 ones, then like with Bobby Hull and Bobby Orr playing, and I think all the teams are Russian. I don't even think. Well, you guys played the Czechs in the finals.
Oh, the Czechs.
And I don't even know if the Russians even made it to the semifinals yet.
No, we were up, but we were not ready for. Believe it or not, we were not ready for the final game against the Czechs, and they had a good little goalie, Drazila. I never forgot his name. And he was a good goal, and we go into overtime. If we had lost, you know how the papers would have. We would have been, and Sittler scored, and it was unbelievable. I mean, that was a series. That was the greatest team ever put together. We were cutting 50-goal scores, and I remember Jean Pronovost. Remember Jean Pronovost?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he scored 50 goals, and we cut him. Rene Robert. I mean, we were cutting guys that were great. And I remember shaking hands with Pronovost after, they cut him. You know how they done him? I'll tell you how they did it. It was unbelievable. We had a dinner that night. Honest to God, this is what they did. They read who made the club. And the other guys are sitting there. And the guys are giving it to me. Like I was assistant coach, or they were looking at me. But we read who made the club.
And they found out
That's
night.
how they found out, sitting amongst other guys. Instead of, they taking them aside, saying, I'm sorry you didn't make the club.
Well, who made that decision?
I don't know who made the decision. But so anyhow, I shake hands. I'm so sorry, Jean Pronovost. And he crushed my hand. He said, whoa. Wait a minute. Let's start again. So I wasn't ready. You know, when you're not ready, the guy
Yeah.
crunches, you can hear the bones crack. And I said, what are you nuts or something? And and he come up and he apologized after he was, but they go.
You have a couple stories with people shaking your hand. Remember the guy in the airport that crushed your hand?
No,
and
it
you
was
walked back.
Yeah, that was in Ottawa, and there was a great big Mountie there. Was a security guy. He was ex-Mountie. Boy, he's a big guy. And we must have been on the road because I had my bag and everything like that. And we shook his hand going in. He crushed my head. Whoa, let's start again. He dropped on my bag and we're up against the wall. He thought I was nuts too.
We just want to mention our sponsor, Spreads.ca, a First Nations-owned online casino and sportsbook tailored for Canadian
You made a bet, eh?
Yes, I bet Dustin Johnson was going to win the Masters. We're doing this on Sunday
You
morning.
played it pretty safe though.
Yeah, but I mean, I did this at the start, not when halfway through, and I thought, well, he's Wayne. Everybody knows he's Wayne Gretzky's son-in-law, so that's why he's almost Canadian. So I bet on him, and he's up now. He's just teeing off. So if you sign up now and enter the promo GRAPES, they will match your deposit 100% up to $500. So if you put $50, they'll match $50. You get 15 free spins on the wheel to win big money, and then your first sports bet, they'll give you a $25 free first sports bet. So that's spreads.ca. It's always good to support Canadian business.